All right, welcome to the live stream, everyone. Today I want to talk about an article that was posted by Victor. He has been on this channel before. He is the president of the Penn State Latin Mass Society. And just a little bit of background. And you can watch our interviews. There was a journey home. He talked about his journey home to the Latin Mass, and he also talked about his experience with the Penn State Latin Mass Society. And the reason the Penn State Latin Mass Society was founded was because the campus minister, the priest who was assigned to campus ministry, was giving the students a hard time about communion on the tongue. He was giving them a hard time about Eucharistic adoration, so uh, they decided to take matters into their own hands and basically ditch the diocese and started going to a or not the diocese, but the campus ministry, and they started going to Latin masses, and the Latin masses, basically their community expanded, and it became what it is today, and they founded a Latin Mass society, and it seems like it was going really well. So the reason why he released this second article, because he had posted an article previously, maybe about 6 months ago on 1 Peter 5, I want to say. I'm not sure. Check me on the date with that. But um, he released a second article on 1 Peter 5, and this is actually in light of Traditionis Custodes. So we're going to be talking about a Biden bishop here. This is Bishop Mark Bartchak, the Bishop of Altoona, Johnstown, in Pennsylvania. And so, where do I want to go here? But first thing I want to point out is that Bishop Gracita actually posted this article on his blog. He said, "Here is the classic case of insensitivity on the part of a diocesan bishop." So Bishop Barchak's getting criticized by Bishop Gracita. That's not a bishop. Bishop Gracita is not someone that you want to be criticized by. You want to make sure that you're basically in line with the stuff that Bishop Gracita is saying. So Victor says in his article, which is linked below, um, it's a sad case of the Diocese of Altoona Johnstown. So the Penn State students had attended a Latin Mass at a parish roughly 35 minutes from campus on Saturday mornings and holy days. And so they had their Latin Mass access to that. Saturday mornings obviously doesn't count for the Sunday obligation, but um, being that a number of students attended this Mass that was not a Sunday obligation Mass, that's pretty significant, right? College students attending Mass at all is pretty significant. So, Bishop Bartchak abruptly canceled this Mass with no reason given. Um, so, Victor, his mother had died a few years ago. So, make sure you pray for her soul and pray for the family. Obviously, that's not something that anyone deserves to deal with, especially at his age. But, it's a reality, and he wanted to do the best thing he could for his mother, and that is schedule a Requiem Mass. So, the Requiem Mass was scheduled on the anniversary of her death. And this was canceled as Bishop Bartchak canceled the Latin Mass at this parish. So Victor goes on to talk about the Requiem Mass and how great it is and how fitting it is for prayers for the deceased. And he said he called the bishop's office to speak to ask that there be an exception for this Requiem Mass that had already been scheduled but then had been canceled because of the motu proprio and the nonsense that had gone on. And so let's see here. He expected that he would have an exception. Let's see, Thursday, August 20th, he left a message with his secretary. She said she would notify the bishop. He waited till Tuesday the 24th. Heard nothing from the chancery. He called again, left a voicemail. He didn't receive a reply. He called on the 26th, left a voicemail, which was unreturned, and he called again on the 27th. He actually got in contact with the bishop's secretary, and the secretary then let him know that the Mass was not to happen, and the priest who was to originally celebrate the Mass was to contact him to find a solution. What would that solution be? The Novus Ordo? I mean, okay, so anyway, uh, let's see here. With this, Victor says, with this, I received the news that my mother's mass would be canceled, seemingly in accordance with the recent directives from Rome. Never once had the bishop contacted me to express this most disappointing fact or explain his reason for doing so. So it's an arbitrary decision. Let's just cancel all Latin masses. Here's a Requiem mass that was pre-scheduled. Sorry about your luck. That's really what this Biden bishop says. And by Biden bishop, I mean the Bishop Barczak um, in, was it June? Yeah, because the USCCB meeting was in June. There was this letter circulated by Cardinal Supich saying that the USCCB should not talk about communion because there was an idea that they were going to talk about denying communion to politicians, pro-abortion politicians like Joe Biden, and Supich didn't want anything to do with it, and so he tried to kind of get this stomped out. He tried to rally up support, and he probably wrote his auxiliary bishops' names on the letter as signers. Bishop Dennis Schnurr of Cincinnati, I think he's an archbishop actually. He his name was on the letter, and he I guess he released a statement where he said that he didn't give permission to put his name on the letter. He requested a copy of the letter to see what it said, and then his name appeared on the letter, even though he said that he didn't want his name to appear, or even though he didn't get permission for it. And so he was the only bishop out of all the signers that said, out of all the people's names, the bishops' names that appeared on there, that said that they didn't support Biden, or that said that they didn't support the de-emphasizing the Eucharist. And there were other bishops that released statements as well. And I believe Bishop Barczak released a statement basically justifying why he signed it, which there is no justification, because these pro-abortion politicians should be denied the Eucharist, despite what Pope Francis recently said. Anyway, he's a Biden bishop. I'll give him that. And until you can say, I condemn Joe Biden, he shouldn't receive communion, then you're going to be a Biden bishop. Sorry. Okay, so moving on. He said that while no formal decree has been issued by the bishop, these restrictions have been corroborated. These statements have been corroborated by public pronouncements from the parish pulpit and the shared experiences of the faithful. There were similar restrictions placed on the Latin Mass in the diocese. So in this current diocese of Altoona Johnstown, no sacraments other than the celebration of the Mass are to be celebrated using the old rite. This includes weddings and baptisms, but also funeral masses. So anyone in that diocese could not be granted a Requiem Mass if they were to die. Parents to be have been told that if they want their unborn children baptized in this rite used by their ancestors, they must go to the neighboring diocese of Harrisburg or Pittsburgh to do so. Further banned is participation of other clerics in the celebration of the Usus Antiquior, which is the Latin Mass. Permissions must be given for any priest, deacon, or seminarian other than the prescribed celebrant to serve as deacon, subdeacon, or even sit in choir. Holy Day Masses are also canceled, forcing the faithful to seek shelter yet again in a neighboring diocese. So this is actually pretty rotten. Based on the fact that there are really not a lot of Latin Masses available as it is, and then it was even more crushed by Bishop Barczak. And as I usually do, I call for basically any of these bishops who demonstrate their hatred for the Latin Mass or in some way seemingly support Joe Biden. They either need to clarify, or they need, say something Catholic, or I call for them to resign. And I've called for probably like half of the bishops to resign by now, so they're not going to resign, obviously. But that's my position. If you're not going to preach the Catholic faith, if you're not going to support the Catholic faith, if you're not going to support students who are looking to live out their Catholic faith, because this is what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a group of students who just want to live out their Catholic faith, and they have a campus minister who's resisting them. and and they have a bishop who's resisting them. And this isn't like these aren't like crazy, these aren't crazy people. They're not unreasonable. They just they want Eucharistic adoration and to receive communion on the tongue. I mean, is that unreasonable? Come on, and to bishops it is. They just want the Latin Mass, and to a bishop that's unreasonable, and it's unreasonable that the Bishop Barczak should be a bishop. I feel like that's my opinion. Hopefully it's everyone. Hopefully a lot of other people agree, and so that is basically the semblance of the article. Go ahead the article. Um, so yeah, and I want to see. Okay, so RJC Barczak is also anti-pro-life. Okay, well, I'm sure he'd be pro-seamless garment though. That's what they all say. Oh, pro-life. All right, so I don't really have any other information on this. I can check with my sources and see if I can get any more information because in Pennsylvania, this is a close knit place. I do want to make a mention of parents to be have been told that if they want their unborn children baptized in the rite, in the old rite, they must go to the neighboring diocese of Harrisburg or Pittsburgh. So in this location, neither place is particularly close. So I mean, how pathetic is that? You know, and the old rite of baptism, the reason why people want it is because they have the three exorcisms. In the Novus Ordo, you don't have that. And so you can go to the Byzantine Divine Liturgy. I've heard a Byzantine priest has told me that the Byzantine rite has three exorcisms. So you can do that, or you can go to one of the right parishes, which in Pittsburgh, um, someone from Altoona Johnstown Diocese were to go to Pittsburgh, that would probably be several hours, and you could only go to the Institute of Christ the King's Parish, Precious Blood of Jesus in downtown Pittsburgh, or you can go to the SSPX St. James, which is about the same distance anyway. But yeah, this is the only place. And in order to get your baby baptized at the Institute, Bishop Zubik declared that you have to be a registered member of that parish. So these bishops are they collaborating against the Catholic faith? It certainly appears so. This is pathetic. We're in a pretty bad situation here in Pennsylvania, unfortunately, with a lot of the bishops. But there are some that are still good. Bishop Gaynor in Harrisburg has certainly been good, but Archbishop, what's his name in Philadelphia, Archbishop Perez in Philadelphia, he's been very questionable in terms of. It appears that he's been pretty hostile with the Catholic faith. So anyway, just consider these things, and you're really going to have to plan ahead at this point because I feel like as Catholics we've been very reactionary, especially the last few years. We didn't expect masses to get shut down. I mean, who did? There were some of the negative people. Oh, Perez allowed that big mass in the cathedral. Oh, cool. Okay, great. So maybe he isn't as hostile towards the Latin Mass. I don't know. I'm going by the story of the Carmelites in Philadelphia. But we're gonna have to plan ahead. We're gonna have to, and like if someone, if your family is expecting a baby, you're gonna have to plan ahead. Maybe talk to a Byzantine priest. I mean, being baptized in the Byzantine rite isn't the worst thing in the world. You still have the three exorcisms, so that's good. Of course, you want your rite. You want the baptism in your rite, which is the Roman rite. So, and I don't know I don't know your situation. I don't know how to tell you I can't tell you what to do, but you just need to determine what's best for you and how to plan ahead. And by doing that, let's be one step ahead of evil because now we have the opportunity. All right. So this has been a good summary. Check out the links in the description. Thank you so much for watching. We are the laity. We will not be silent.